Hello and welcome back everyone to Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, the Aurora playthrough on Rocket Rabbit Commentaries. In this episode, we'll be going through this a small side area in the Forbidden Underground Waterway in order to get a warp point. Haha! The warp point is actually really important for later, but not right now. Specifically because it serves as an exit for an area that we'll be exploring a bit later, but honestly, there's nothing else really here, but since this was a blind run, I did not know that nothing else was here for Aurora. So it's important for me to go and check everything.
You know, it's funny that even outside of blind runs, you may run into unexpected obstacles because of the because of a character select system, that different characters will have different levels of access to the map depending on how big their bodies are or what abilities they already have that allow them to traverse the map, like flight, for instance.
Well, you'd think that, but to be perfectly honest, a majority of the characters in a Bloodstained actually get access to flight relatively early. Zhang actually starts with it.
They call me the Seeker. I'm a golden eyeball.
Some people call him Maurice.
Whoa.
To be perfectly honest, I don't actually remember a majority of that track unless it's actually playing, and even then, I don't remember. I only remember how it goes from context, not necessarily from memory.
People keep talking about me, baby.
People keep doing me wrong,
Don't you worry, baby, no, don't worry. 'Cause I'm right here in the Forbidden Underground Waterway.
At home.
So I'm a princess, I'm a fighter, I'm a splitter, I'm a wielder. My friend is a smiley cloud. I'm a buyer, I'm a liar, I'm a video game trier.
What are we
and I talked to Johannes Dude. Alright, doing some upgrades of our friends. The big one to upgrade here specifically is actually Rubella, because something that I've not actually explained is that Rubella is the only friend that actually has a healing spell attached to her offensive spell. So getting her upgraded increases the potency of both the damage spell and the heal that you get off of her. It's the secondary reason why we're running Rubella as our primary shard. And to be perfectly honest, if I was being a full melee build, Agnes is the way that I would realistically want to be playing, mostly because of the stat bonuses and the empowered counterattack. But I stick to Rubella because I'm not good enough at the game to actually to have benefits from my counterattack at all times.
Hey, don't break Robert's lantern. What the hell?
I need the restored mana, even though the save point restores all my mana to full anyway.
I understand if your health is low, and once your health bar is full, you'll be safe to go. See, they speak in rhyme in this universe.
Now we got to go through the other half of the Forbidden Underground Waterway, and unfortunately, we don't have the other waypoint, the other fast travel point for it. So we got to take the long way in.
The long way in is full of rats, and above us, the corridors of cats.
How many corridors do you think it would take in order to actually build Dracula's castle?
Is that, I was about to say, man, is that creature ever satisfied with the breadth and depth of his castle? I don't think so. Because if he runs out of space in one dimension, he will simply forge another castle in another dimension.
Or he'll just pull dimensional space from his pocket dimensions.
See, if I hold a mirror up to myself, I see nothing. If I hold a mirror up to my castle, I see two, where there was once one.
At least he only did the upside down castle thing once.
The upside down castle.
Honestly, Symphony of the Night gets a lot of praise in the community, and most of it's very well deserved. But the Upside Down Castle is extremely fucking lazy, and it's a bitch and I have to navigate through.
Well, because we find that video game makers must adhere to memory capacity, and it's easier to reuse assets than have to load entirely different ones.
You say that, but you know, a majority of the upside down castle is actually different. It's got different texturing. It's got different enemy loadouts. It has vastly different enemy encounters throughout it. It's just that the castle itself is both a different color and upside down.
The upside down. Stranger Things.
I still have not seen much of Stranger Things.
Did you see the Master of Puppets that people talk
I
of?
did see the Master of Puppets clip, but I'm like, as cool and metal as this is, realistically, all this is just the studio version of Master of Puppets.
But it was cool.
It was cool. It was very cool, but it's not necessarily all that impressive. They're just playing the studio version of Master of Puppets over the scene.
Well, not the entirety. The intro was played by what's-his-name, and then he even got to play on stage with James Hetfield and others from Metallica. Huh, that horse knows how to swim.
Well, yeah. The Glastian is technically supposed to be a hippocampus. It just doesn't have the fishtail part.
When the still sea conspires in armor, and our sullen and aborted currents breed tiny monsters.
Scylla will attempt to attack us with clams, because that is what Scylla does. Alright. You'll notice that I'm actually going after a bunch of the hidden walls that I know of, specifically because I'm looking for HP and MP ups. MP ups we no longer honestly need all that much of, but as I'm not honestly all that good at the game, HP ups are always welcome.
And welcome to the gates of instantaneous transportation.
Mostly because Aurora and a majority of the side characters can't actually squeeze through those gaps.
So you're telling me that those gates only appear when you're playing as a character that can't fit through that ordinarily?
Yep.
It's funny.
It's one of the smaller things that the devs actually put a bit of time into for the extra characters. Like since Miriam is the only character that can realistically go through those small gaps, a majority of the side characters end up using a slightly different version of the map than Miriam does. It's honestly a really cool feature, but it's very telling that these bonus modes aren't and don't have nearly as much time in them as a fan project would have put into them.
Well, fan projects usually let slip that they have way too much time on their hands, whereas game developers, well, these things may be revealed in post because of time constraints and also mistakes happen and humans were working. If only they could have taken the Sonic the Hedgehog approach, where instead of inventing nuances in the levels depending on whether you're playing as Sonic or Tails or Knuckles, that the map is exactly the same. The assets are there, it's just depending on your character's ability to access these areas, you may not see them.
Well, that is technically a lot of what's going on here, with the exception of since every character gets flight at some point, you're always going to be able to see the areas that specific characters would have been designed for. This map is very explicitly designed for Miriam and just Miriam. So instead of drastically changing the map around the additional characters, they just compensate the characters with transport gates every once in a while. Speaking of Miriam, it's Miriam the Doppelganger.
Ah, she has fire. But so do we. Rock and roll, baby.
Unfortunately, I am not all that comfortable with adult. I'm not all that comfortable with adult Aurora yet. So, although I know how to use the parry against doppelgangers, a dragon strike, it's pretty much the only attack of hers that I'm at. That and Jinrai.
Slow, so that you can see the swing of the sword in order to parry on time. Ah.
And this is when I actually discovered that Rubella actually has a heal spell attached to her.
Uppercut.
Dang it.
Helm Splitter.
But this is kind of what I mean when I mentioned that that Aurora is way more powerful than she honestly should be for normal mode, because we haven't done all that much additional grinding or farming for materials. But this fight, despite the fact that I'm doing really poorly in it, look at what my resources are at. I effectively have infinite mana, and because I have effectively infinite mana, Rubella gives me effectively infinite health.
Was that a delayed attack retargeting that sent the flames in an arc instead of just a straight line?
No, well, actually, Miriam's flamethrower is one of her spells that she has the ability to alter the direction of. Rubella specifically, being upbeat heat, does not have the ability for us to alter its direction.
Huh, too slow. I see that you are a worthy opponent. Yeah, turn
Thanks,
around,
Rubella.
fool. Oh, you can't stop this guitar solo, baby.
Not that we need
get
to,
you.
because it's just that much better than most of her attacks. But yeah, we did that fight really, really poorly, and we still came out of it almost totally unscathed. It's nuts.
I mean, it's fine. You didn't die. That's pretty good. You know, people can do that fight without getting hit, but you know, those people a lot of times can go screw themselves because they make inadequate feelings among players who are not that overly familiar with the game animations.
I don't know, honestly. I mean, to be perfectly honest, Doppelganger's a fight that I don't do well with any of the characters. But it is a fight that it's a fight that I'm comfortable with just about everyone. I just don't do all that well with it. My issue, when I bring up how powerful Aurora is explicitly that none of the other side characters, including Zhang, are not this powerful at this point. Zhang has actually started to fall off by around now, so where he's about as powerful as Miriam was during this time. And Miriam has, depending on what build you're going for, Miriam has got pretty significant problems dealing with Doppelganger. Unless, of course, you're actually dealing Katana Miriam, who just shits all over Doppelganger.
Yeah, it's too bad they didn't make more doppelgangers so that the doppelganger you were fighting corresponds to the character you're playing as.
It would have been interesting, but that would involve them actually, deciding what abilities that doppelganger would end up having. Like, if we're gonna have a doppelganger Aurora, she can't have all of the friends.
No, of course she wouldn't have any friends, because the friends are outside of Aurora. That she would have.
Okay, so if she doesn't have any, if she has no friends, then what are her other abilities then?
Helm Splitter.
Okay, and
well, that's the thing about giving AI opponents counterattack is it's kind of cheap, because then it's a roll of the dice whether you get to deal damage.
yeah. In the next episode, we'll go through the worst area in the entire game. Be safe, everybody.